Would please rise and say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are we good with that? You good, Kirk?
You'll have audio and we're going to get a video.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you. We'll proceed. I need a motion for the adoption of the agenda and consent agenda as the order of business with identification of items taken off the consent agenda for discussion or separate action.
So moved. I second.
First and second, all in favor say yes?
Yes.
Yes. By the way, am I okay with the quorum? I don't have 20, I just need 4, and I'm 4th, okay, good. Just checking.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to move now to consider the approval of the consent agenda as adopted. Approve the minutes of July 20th, 2021 Board of Education meeting. Approve financial report for the period of July 1, 2021 through July 31st, 2021. And approve bills for the period of July 1, 2021 through July 31st, 2021 in the amount of $2,279,128.94.
I move we approve the consent agenda as adopted.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Motion carries. Now we're going to move on to the election to fill the board vacancy. And Dan, you want to start us off?
Yes, just had a community member had asked earlier why the school board, or what's the mechanism that the school board gets to appoint and vote for a new member. And just so that everybody's aware, that is set in state statute, and then board policy falls after the state statute. So if somebody is no longer able or resigns, the board has the obligation to elect a new member. If the board is unable to elect a new member within 60 days, the board president can appoint a new member. Then that person is up for re-election in the next election cycle, just as an FYI.
All right, thank you, Dan. So I believe all the candidates are here this evening. I had asked the board members that if they had any questions for the candidates, or if any of the candidates have anything more they'd like to add. Thank you very much for presenting at the committee of the whole. I think we had just really nice information exchange there. Your resumes were wonderful. We really appreciate having a slate of candidates like this. It's good. It's good for us. It's good for our community. But if the board members, if anyone has a question to address the candidates, please do so.
I don't have any questions.
No questions? No
Like
questions?
like I said last week to them, after they shared with us why they want to be on the board, it's really going to be tough. It's a hard decision. I've been thinking about it all week. So good luck to each one of you.
And we're okay with just our quorum and doing the work of the quorum. So 2 of our members are not here. So at this time, what will happen is, board members, you have your ballot. Only mark one person, write your name on the ballot. The ballots are then handed to Katrina. She will read the ballots as well as a board member's name. This is a roll call vote. So proceed with that.
Thank you.
Have we heard from Tony?
He was trying to reach him all day.
Oh, really?
Well, just in the last couple hours, I should say.
Okay, Kathy Turner has voted for Sarah Mooney. Janelle Bone, Erin Martell. Sally Isley, Erin Martell. And Bob Travis, Erin Martell.
All right. Well, Aaron, congratulations. Thank you to all the other candidates. We really appreciate your application. Aaron, if you could come forward at this time, Sally will administer the oath of office, and you can be seated right away then.
So, Aaron, I'm just gonna read through this and then we can continue.
I, Erin Martell,
I, Aaron Martell,
who have been elected to the office of school board,
who have been elected to the office of school board,
but have not yet entered upon the duties thereof,
but have not yet entered upon the duties thereof,
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the state of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the state of Wisconsin,
and will faithfully discharge the duties of said office to the best of my ability,
and will faithfully discharge the duties of said office to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Well, congratulations, Aaron.
Thank you.
All right, Tony, we just elected Aaron.
Okay.
Are you okay with that?
He's got my vote.
Okay. All right, item 7, board and district leadership, strategic planning. Update, Dan.
Yes. So this is just the first part of the strategic planning update is about our mitigation strategies and the plan moving forward for this school year and with those aspects involved. But then they'll be closely followed by Dina, Dina Bedrecki, who will be talking about all the work that's been done over the course of the summer preparing for all the kids coming back and the teaching and learning and our focus on student achievement this upcoming school year. So that's the fun part of the presentation. So let's see if this thing is working. All right. So our goals are to protect the health and wellness of our staff and students and families, to keep schools open for students and learning, and to return to normal operations as much as possible. So we have a comprehensive approach to this, and that approach includes a lot of the mitigation strategies that were incorporated last year. And last year we had a successful school year with most of our students in our classrooms every single day. Our summer school was successful as well, with our students in class every single day, with the option of masking and some mitigation strategies that were a little less than during the course of the year. And so looking at our summer school experience, looking at our current data, our local data, we are moving forward with this approach right now. A caveat to all of this, of course, includes that any kind of mandate that comes to us, of course, we will follow through with that mandate. And also that as conditions change here, hopefully they're changing for the better the entire school year, and it'll be a wonderful year. Then we'll be pulling back on some of these strategies. However, if conditions change and worsen, then we would be adding back in some of the more strict strategies. So as of right now, we will continue with our cleaning protocols that we instated last year that were very successful, focusing on simple things like hand washing for children and adults too in every situation. Our ventilation system, our HVAC systems are running at a very high level, exchanging as much air as they possibly can without burning out the units. Physical distancing and cohorting. We will be physically distancing students inside and inside spaces to the degree possible, and cohorting them as well. So cohorting means groups of 2 students who may be at a table together. They will also, in the elementary, they will also be lunch buddies during their lunch and the indoor times. Of course, kids, we change those table groups up and everything during the course of the year. That's just an example of cohorting, is keeping a small group of kids who might be in closer contact with each other together and not exposing a lot of people to a lot of other people. We're encouraging facial coverings, but it is not mandatory. We're encouraging vaccination. In fact, we had a vaccination clinic here this summer. It was simply for those who wanted the vaccination. They were able to come in and get that through our partners in our local healthcare. We'll have readily available testing. Parents who would like their children tested for COVID will have that option here. That is still in the works. It's a state program, and so all the details of that are still forthcoming. I don't know that that's going to be available day one, but it will be available during the course of the school year. Okay, again, that is something that if a parent wants their student tested, they can ask the school district to do that, and our school nurses would follow through on that process. One of our biggest, we think anyway, mitigation strategies that has been very helpful is our partnership with our families and parents in just keeping kids home when they're sick, and making sure that we're following through on that and checking that their symptoms are gone and the fever is gone before anybody is back at school. Those kinds of things are really important, and people did a great job of that last year, and I think that was a big plus why Plymouth was able to stay in person and learning longer than other school districts right around us. There will be quarantining. Public health is operating the quarantining this year, and so if you test positive, there will be a quarantine. If you're a close contact, there will be a quarantine. If you're vaccinated and are a close contact, you will not have to quarantine. Close monitoring of classes with a positive individual. If any individuals do test positive, our school nurses will keep in touch and make sure that we're not seeing any kind of spread in those classes. Again, the CDC says vaccination is currently the leading public health prevention strategy, and we will continue to promote those opportunities for eligible students and staff. Facial coverings are recommended but optional for all students and staff. They're highly encouraged for unvaccinated individuals. Parents who would like their students to wear a facial covering, our teachers will work with. Thank you. Our teachers will work with you and make sure that takes place in the classroom, and those that choose not to. Currently that would be their choice. They're also highly encouraged for unvaccinated individuals, and they are required on all school buses because it's a federal mandate. Again, I mentioned about the COVID testing that we have available. I mentioned all of this earlier, and again, it is a student, it's not a student, it is a parent-driven choice, okay? If they would like their students tested. Even if a student is complaining of a fever and has all the symptoms and everything else, the school district will contact you, probably the school nurse, and they'll ask you, would you like your student tested? And at that point, that would be your decision. I keep thinking this thing switches. Again, keeping kids home when they're ill is super important, and the more that we can do that and work together that way, that would be wonderful. We are recommending that students and staff will stay home until symptoms improve. And those with fever greater than 100, vomiting, diarrhea, the things that you see there. The key COVID indicators, we're asking that the families keep those kids home until they're fever-free for 24 hours. And people were very good about this last year and very helpful, and I think that was a big factor in us being able to mitigate these cases. Quarantine, we carefully track all the positive COVID cases of our students, and we will monitor the health of those students in those buildings. Public health, again, will be isolating COVID-positive individuals and household members for quarantines of 14 days. Close contacts that public health identifies will be quarantining for 10 days. The exception would be vaccinated individuals do not need to quarantine as long as they don't have symptoms. Again, this is an evolving situation, and this would be our starting plan, but this is, of course, dependent on how things are progressing. If there is school transmission verified, we would move towards increased mitigation strategies. My hope would be that we would have decreasing cases and decreasing and no transmission, in which case we can pull back on mitigation strategies. So watch our website for updates, and parents, just make sure, if you can check at registration, making sure that your Skyward email and everything is correct. That's very helpful, because then those messages that are coming out to you are connecting with the right people. So those are the strategies for right now today. And again, it is an evolving situation.
Could change.
Could change.
Any questions for Dan? Dan, I have a question. If with school transmission, that'll be site-by-site basis, or will that be, if we see a whole lot going on, it's going to be throughout the whole district? What's the plan there?
Well, the primary focus will be student-to-student transmission in a class,
Okay.
or in a cohort group, or a small, like, students that we know are together or work
Yep.
together for long enough. If there's transmission, that's going to be school-based transmission.
Okay.
If there's just widespread transmission going all over the place, that would be a
Okay.
different story.
Sure, sure.
And again, for us, we are looking at this by site, because there might be 3 kids in elementary school who are positive, but if, for example, one student is a 5th grader and has no contact with a 2nd grader who has COVID also, and then a 1st grader, and none of the 3 of them have any contact with each other, that really isn't school-based transmission. And last year we saw in our school district, it was 98% or 99% not school-based transmission. And so hopefully that continues, but we need to be vigilant about that.
Okay.
I would just make one other point, though, that I failed to mention when I was going through about the quarantining. If your student is quarantined to home, we will be we will have synchronous options for your student with their home teacher.
Thank you.
Okay? I failed to mention that before. And so that will be very similar to last year, but unlike last year, it won't be for somebody who's just ill. It's going to be for COVID-positive students and students who are quarantined by public health. Okay? Otherwise, if you got a little cold or something and a runny nose and you're good in a couple days, it's just like being sick in a normal year, then you can come back.
So Dan, back on the quarantine with the vaccination, are you saying that if they don't have symptoms and have the vaccine, then they don't have to quarantine, but if they do have symptoms with the vaccination, they do have to quarantine?
Correct.
Or no?
Yeah, they would have, if they have a vaccination and they do have symptoms and they were a close contact.
Yep,
Then they would have to quarantine.
okay,
The public health will be the ones that are making those determinations about who should and shouldn't quarantine. And so we would just kind of follow through with that, and
Okay.
then we're alerted, and then we get our teachers to, a classroom teacher knows, and so this student will be out for 10 or 14 days, and so then we just get going on
okay,
connecting with them.
okay. And then what will determine if it gets worse? Is that gonna be statewide, countywide? Is it gonna be school-specific? How are you gonna determine what is worse if we go down that road.
Yeah,
Don't want to,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
if we do.
Public Health has now given us a school district information specific. So when they're printing out, you'll see it in the newspaper and things where it's like county-wide. Public Health is also giving us district-wide weekly updates on total numbers of cases. So as of right now, the most recent one was 53 cases out of 100,000 within our school district. So of course, we don't have 100,000 people within our school district, so you have to do a little math. But when you finish it up, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 to 7 people currently within our anybody here in the district boundaries. 6 to 7 people within the district are currently positive for COVID. So we'll look at those numbers. They will not break it out by school-age children, which I've asked for, just because it's too identifiable. They don't want to get it that small. So, some increase, a major increase related to that would be something that we then would look at our local data and see if we're seeing it reflected in our schools.
Okay, that's helpful, thank you.
Any other questions for Dan?
As far as the vaccination for teachers and faculty, are you making that mandatory at this point or no?
No,
Okay.
but we do stand at about 70% of our staff is currently vaccinated. It's actually over that now, by their choice.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks, Dan. That's a great start. You gonna throw that?
No, I'm not throwing,
Don't be throwing our equipment
No.
here. Legislative,
No, then we go to Dina's, which is the
oh,
academic.
sorry,
excellence.
academic excellence pillar. Dina,
So tonight I'm going to share some of the work, the great work that's been happening throughout the summer. And I'm going to focus more on larger groups that have been working. Teachers all the time work with their coworker, their peers in smaller groups and individually, but just some really great things have been happening throughout the summer that I wanted to share and show you what's been happening. Here's a quote: "At the edge of chaos is innovation." And that, coming off of a year and a half of chaos, it's been really inspiring to see the innovation that's been happening this summer. Teachers, I am just impressed with how energetic they've been in being back here, getting ready, using what they've learned in the past year and a half, whether it be technology-wise or new strategies. But I can't tell you that there hasn't been a day this summer of work where I haven't seen or talked to or emailed or virtually conferenced with teachers who want to be working and want to get back to what they love to do. So some different things that have been happening, and this literally happened the day or 2 days after school was out, was the high school met with an expert on block scheduling. And that was something that, due to COVID and with our mitigation strategies to reduce the cohorting and all that good stuff, we went towards the block scheduling. We met with parents, we had student feedback, and we were able to take that information, share it with this expert, so he could focus in on areas that we really wanted to improve upon and grow. And then the nice thing is then teachers had those resources all summer to be able to plan and to prepare. The entire high school staff participated in that. So that was just a great day that they were able to gain a lot of knowledge and then use that for the remainder of the summer to prepare for the coming school year. Okay, now this is gonna slow down on me. See, it's gonna go forward. In math, kindergarten through 8th grade, We've got quite a few different things happening. The beginning of the summer, we started with a 2-day intervention training, which is with our Bridges program. And with that, it's it's an add-on to the program. And what it allows us to do is take students who might be struggling in specific areas, and it provides us with better supports so that we can help those kids and narrow in on those focus areas that they might be struggling in, and as well help us with our professional development of staff, because we can follow that data and see, okay, lots of kids are struggling maybe with decimals, that do we need to beef up our professional development in those areas? So that is something that's helping us to improve upon. And we had well over 30 of our math teachers K through 8 participate in that. So that was another great 2 days of training that then even today we had a professional training that we had about 20 of our teachers in at Horizon, but it was all K-8 district-wide. And we had teachers who were sitting down that were specifically working on that interventions training information. But then the other teachers were just sharing how they set up for the year. Some of our new teachers were involved in that, and just getting units planned and sharing those resources to just get us off on a really good start. We have math leaders, K through 8 as well, and they started meeting, I think it was last April, on a regular basis. They have our first 2 months of our professional development days planned out. So supporting teachers that once we roll out our different testing, that they'll work with the teachers to look at those test results, again, providing them different supports on what are our next steps, and if we have areas of weakness, what do we need to do? If we have areas that we're really strong in, maybe those are some teachers that we want to help other people grow and develop as well. So again, it's been just really inspirational to see that happening, especially after the year that we had. Social studies, prior to COVID, the middle school had done quite a bit of research into a different social studies program. Our materials were starting to fall apart. So it was time to look at something different. So they had done quite a bit of research into different resources. And due to COVID, we sort of put the brakes on that just because we wanted to make sure we had our spending and resources done in a fiscally responsible manner. So we were able to then, at the end of the year, go ahead with that. And all of the social studies teachers at Riverview met. We looked at our scope and sequence, and that is all of the topics that we teach and the different standards that go along with that. And we really focused in on a vertical alignment. And so in schools, what a vertical alignment means is that we're looking at 5th grade through 8th grade, what are we teaching? And are we building the knowledge of that content? Because sometimes you'll have topics that will be taught or covered more than once, or the standards show up more than once. So we wanted to make sure that a student that is having a specific topic taught in 5th grade, that when it's covered in 8th grade, that it's a higher level and at a greater depth of knowledge. The really entertaining part of this process and this resource is that it really focuses in on our reading strategies. One area that consistently our data has shown is that we need to improve our teaching of reading informational text with our students. So that would be like a nonfiction book or a manual or a textbook. We're always very well versed when it comes to our fictional type of reading, but when it comes to the informational text, it's an area we need to improve upon because it's a different type of reading and different skills and strategies are required to do so. So with that, this resource really focuses in on teaching those strategies as you are teaching social studies. So it combines those two areas, which just makes it more of a natural process versus teaching informational text and just reading. Now you're teaching it as you're learning about your social studies content. Science, we have been working the last few years with our elementary school, and we're moving up to the middle school, and they've been working with one of our science coaches and doing just that vertical alignment, looking at where things are, but that is really, very well established. So working on just enhancing those lessons, making them come alive a little bit more. They're focusing on phenomenons to just pull the kids in and engage them a little bit to start the conversation and create the foundation of that content to move forward. We had a book study this summer. I put it out there to the entire staff and thought, I truly bought 5 books to start with. And thought, I'll feel bad if no one takes them. And we had well over 20 teachers and representing elementary, middle, and high school. We met a few different times throughout this summer, and there were just really great conversations about how we teach reading, whether it's whole, more of the upper levels, but when you teach like a whole class novel versus small groups, and how do you do that effectively? Some of our major takeaways were that need to do that vertical alignment, especially like middle school through high school. Looking at skills versus strategies, like your skills are your big picture. So maybe that's interpreting text versus the strategy of how do you interpret text, because our goal is to produce readers, and that we want to make sure when it comes to those higher levels that we're producing really high functioning readers who are able to engage and analyze the readings that they're doing. We also found the need for some shared language, because what one person might say is synthesis at one level, at a different level, they might have a different interpretation or a little bit of a different twist to it. So looking at that, so we have some of those smooth building and truly build on that vertical alignment as we move along. Reading training, today we had reading training. Quite a few district teachers met at Horizon again and went through and just started prepping lessons, but sharing strategies and tips on how to roll out successful reading programs. And it involved some of our new teachers, but it was really refreshing to see how many of our veteran teachers participated, because they want to help but also learn and grow, because anytime you're in a training, you walk away with more information and improving your own skill set. Writing, 7th and 8th grade at Riverview, the last year they did a pilot with the program, and now they are implementing a program that really, again, will help to provide some consistency. One of the really key factors that we liked about this resource that they were looking at is that it provided a lot of great teacher training videos, as well as student videos, that if they didn't quite get a concept, a teacher could provide them with some extra resources that would help walk them through that as well. So again, just a great resource, and it also integrates it into those other subject areas. So it's not just writing standing alone, but it's maybe when we're answering a science question, how do we write in an effective manner to have, a really high quality response. And last but not least, our new teacher orientation started this week. We have approximately 20 new teachers, and they have been meeting, giving them definitely a time in their classrooms, but yesterday, or like I said, today, we had quite a few trainings that they were participating in, but they're well on their way to getting ready for the new school year, and we have a great group of new people, and we're excited to have them join our Plymouth family. So that is what I have. Do you have any questions at all? And I mean, this is truly just an extremely small amount of what work has been done throughout the summer.
So I'm curious, with the 20 new teachers and going into the school year, how do you buddy them up with a veteran teacher? What do you do?
Yeah, definitely. This year is sort of interesting because it's probably a more veteran group of new teachers. They're new to our district, but not necessarily new to teaching. But they have a mentor that they work with. And, like our goal is throughout the professional development, we introduce them to a lot of the different people that are here to support them. But yeah, they have a mentor within their building.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Well, thank you, Dina. Sounds like a lot of great preparation. That moves us to, wait, education update, are you on that? Is that you? Did we jump ahead?
We jumped in, we actually missed the legislative update. Yeah.
Oh, okay,
We can go back to it if you like.
yeah, we should,
Yep.
okay, I kind of wondered.
Yeah.
So, we're gonna go back, point of order here, to the legislative update, Dan.
Yes. We were scheduled originally to have a meeting yesterday with our legislators that ended up not being able to happen. And so, just as an update, we are still continuing to advocate with our legislators to make sure that they have a per pupil increase, which is our operating budget. Not, this year they held the district and, well, the entire state to a $0 increase, well, a $0 nothing, for schools for their per pupil limit, which means that we don't have any additional funds that are for ongoing operation types of things like our salaries. And again, students are, the number one part of our business, and so therefore, people are our number one expenditure. About 80% of our budget is with people, with our staff. So the operational part of our budget is the most important part. And so currently, because we're receiving COVID dollars, which are supposed to be one-time or few-time expenses, they held us to $0. So we're continuing to advocate for those types of expenditures and increasing the limit so that we can kind of keep up with inflation with the major part of our budget, which is human resources. So that is my report.
And are they forthright? I mean, is that the reason there's a $0 update is because of the COVID dollars? Is that what they say, or what's
Yes,
the? Yeah.
I've spoken to all of our legislators personally and advocating for this even prior to when the legislation happened.
First started, right.
And I think there was confusion about the difference between one-time expenditures and operational expenditures, but then I don't think it was politically wise for them to make a change at that point or suggest a change. So it's just something that we are working on ongoing.
Okay, all right, good, thanks, Dan. Finance, Buildings and Grounds, that's my update. I'm on that committee along with Sally, and we had a meeting just this week and discussed just the progress of where we are with all the programs. Summer is a great time for our maintenance staff to really go after the buildings and make lots of fixes. I don't remember what Richard said, but it was thousands of tickets that they have requested upon them. And as much as they can, they work with the funds that we have available and do their best to keep our facilities in tip-top shape. And they execute that very well year after year after year. We do have some bigger projects that relate to really the wind down of our building campaign. There are some warranty items that Dan and Richard, they work with our contractors to make sure the roof doesn't leak where they put in the HVAC unit and some other things. So those little warranty items will go on for a while now, but they are starting to wrap those up. In addition to that, some other notable achievements outside of our building referendum, items that we chose to tackle. If you go outside here, the tennis courts are beautiful. They were resurfaced and painted and whatever else they do with tennis. I've never been a tennis player, so, but they look awesome. So go out there. I know our students love it. I believe girls have already been on it, and it's a wonderful upgrade. In addition to that, Riverview, the auditorium, is getting a new roof as we speak, I believe, yeah? And it's gonna be ready soon for school, so that's on track. There's also a cart path that's now completed between the high school and Horizon, correct? And that's a paved path, allow people to navigate through that area for football games, for emergency vehicles, and just travel back and forth between the schools. So a nice upgrade as well to the facilities. In addition to that, we discussed future projects. The administration puts together a list of items within their buildings, areas that we need improvement. Those items are discussed by the committee. One of the things Sally brought forward is that we should add discussion around sustainability. Particularly, she brought up solar, but sustainability in general, when we look at what we're doing and where we're spending our dollars, we should always be thinking about, are these dollars being spent as sustainable as possible? That's in our long-run best interest as a school system. So we will add sustainability to our discussions in future meetings and always keep that top of mind. And that is the report of the facilities. Moving on, we are now at the point of public participation. And at this point, the individuals that have signed, Katrina, you can call the individuals forward.
Right, we'll have them come to the podium to speak, state your name before you speak.
We will time the presentations, just in the interest of expediency. It will be a 5-minute allotment of time for you to speak to the board. We're here to listen, not to debate or dialogue with you, but to listen to what you have to say. Board members, if you have a question of the information that was brought forth, we can ask that question of the individual, but we're not here to directly answer a question from your presentation. We're here to absorb and consider what you have to say. Having said that,
Sounds good. Jerry Prowl?
Board members, I've been where you are sitting right now. I've also been, the last 15 years prior to the pandemic, I've been attending classes at UW-Sheboygan as an auditor, which means I've taken all the classes, I bought the books, I've taken the tests, I've done everything except take finals. I've had copies of them so I could go through them to see how I've done and everything. But the main gist was, I enjoy the learning. And one thing that I've seen in 15 years is that our children are undereducated, badly so. And the worst part is, too many of them don't care. They really don't care. And when I got to know the professors quite well. In 15 years, they know me quite well because I've been in some of their classes. I've had things like 8 semesters of art, 8 semesters of U.S. history, world history, at least 4 semesters, 5 semesters of poli-sci, philosophy, sociology, and all that type of thing. So I heard them, I've had discussions with them. Even one of the deans got to know me because he had a business background, I had a business background. We converse regularly. It got to the point where when I would talk to the professors and the dean about the education, they started out by saying, well, they're just kids coming out of high school. They really have a lot to learn. The last 3 to 4 years, that no longer was the thing. The thing that they talked about most was these kids are unprepared. And ironically, in 2012, the University of Wisconsin-Madison published an article in the paper that 1/3 of the students, now I don't know if that was a freshman class or the university in its entirety, 1/3 of the class, they said, shouldn't even be here. And that's been brought forward many times. So what I was concerned about was 2 weeks ago, I think it was, that I saw in the Plymouth Review, there were 2 things that was brought up at one of your meetings. One of them was a controversy about a cap. And I'm thinking, considering the status of where we are in the world, 37th in the in the fields of science, mathematics, reading and understanding, 37th in the world is terrible. And you're debating whether or not to wear a cap in school. That's a no-brainer. Keep the cap off. You're in a formal setting. How do you expect to be growing up and learning if you're not treating it as though this is your job, this is your function? You have got to learn because the real world is out there, just a little ways away. The next thing that I saw was lowering the grade A to 92.5. I'm thinking it used to be 93. Now we're down at 92.5. I graduated from North High in Sheboygan in 1961. Since that time, the state of Wisconsin has lowered the standards 4 times. Lowering the standards, mind you. And I look at that 92.5 as lowering another standard. I'm saying we should be taking that standard and raising it. 95 to 100 is maybe an A, and then go down from there. We need intelligent kids. We need intelligent everybody. The world is changing rapidly, technologically speaking. We've got to do more than what we're doing. The only things that because we cannot discuss them, but because I've been away from this for a while, considering the light of what's going on in our country today, I would like to know from somebody at some time in the very near future, what are the discussions about critical race theory, transgender, Black Lives Matter, global warming. That just about covers a whole bunch of things. I've got my own opinions, I've done my own research. That was another thing. When I was going to the university, I did research for the students. When they had their papers to do, I did research. I did the whole 9 yards. Oh. Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you.
Next up is Jillian Rooker.
Good evening again. As I stated last week during my interview, parents lack confidence in their school boards. We have blindly trusted that the decisions being made by this board and administration are in the best interest of our children. But if there's one thing the last 18 months has taught us, it's that we as parents need to stand up and fight for what's best for our kids. While I'm thankful we are starting the year with masks optional, I find the mitigation strategies to be unnecessary and only serve as a constant reminder to these kids that they should be afraid. You claim these mandates and rules you are imposing on our children are in everyone's best interest, yet you take little accountability for them by saying you are following guidelines. Why do you continue to follow their guidelines and support the ideology that kids are to be treated like they are a public health threat when it has been proven time and again that they are not? The effects these practices are having on our kids physically and emotionally are far worse than this virus, and we have yet to see the long-term effects that they may have. After 18 months of this crap, we are right back where we started, which poses these questions to me. If masks work, why aren't they working? If the vaccine works, why isn't it working? Have you ever heard of quarantining healthy people? Have you ever gone to the doctor demanding you be tested for something without symptoms? Do you really think the new normal should be forcing people into isolation, breathing in their own waste, treating everyone like they're sick and living in constant fear? If this is really about health, why aren't we hearing about the things we can do to keep us healthy? Instead of getting answer to those questions, an environment is being created where people feel empowered to shame others for personal medical decisions, and your mitigation strategies are facilitating that. Our president, Bob Travis, has stated to me that if more people would put our children first, they would use the best tool we currently have against the virus and get vaccinated so we can get back to normal. If the virus does roar back through our community because people continue to resist getting vaccinated or fail to practice any sort of mitigation behavior, then we will need to allow our administrators the ability to do what they can to keep our students safe and schools open. Being accused of not putting children first because of a personal medical decision is insulting to me. Then to shame the community for resisting something that is experimental and has thousands of reports of death and serious injury is not only arrogant, but goes against the district policy definition of bullying. To make a statement like that after the information I have provided says to me, he either never looked at it or feels he knows better. Either way, these are our kids, and it is our right as their parents to decide what is best. The burden you are putting on them with constant visual reminders and phrases like recommended but optional or highly encouraged is bordering on harassment. If you're dedicated to providing a safe place for these kids to learn and committed to creating a better relationship with the community, I implore you to reassess your current plan as it stands today and not push any further mandates on our children. Also, I'll be running for the school board in April.
Next up, Brian Gelser.
Good evening. Boy, I don't envy you guys one bit. So I just want to say thank you, first of all, as a board and as a member and for children in the school district for allowing us to be mask optional. It was very devastating for our children last year. Without getting too personal, it won't happen again. If masks become an issue or mandatory, we're preparing to leave. I know for a fact that I'm not alone. I know that it's a comforting feeling for some people to wear cloth masks over their face. For the last 15 years of my life, I worked for Plymouth Ambulance and Orange Cross Ambulance Service. And masks are considered a restraint with the state of Wisconsin. We actually had to call and get doctor approval to put them on. So public health, as of late, is completely upside down to where it was. Been through the H1N1 pandemic, been through Ebola pandemic. I don't know what we're afraid of. CDC's website this morning, 99% survival rate for COVID-19. What are we doing? Seriously, people. What are you afraid of? What are we afraid of? This is not going to be the worst illness you're going to face. It's not going to be the last. History repeats itself. Common sense is your approach, and I like what you've done with your plan there. I think it's great. But there is far worse things challenging our youth right now than COVID-19. And I urge and beg you to keep your eyes on the prize. If people want to wear a mask, let them wear a mask. People want to get the vaccine, let them get the vaccine. But I'm going to have a really hard time if you force my kids to wear a mask again. We're going to have a very difficult time. And we are preparing for that on many levels and many people. So please, let us have our freedom that you just swore an oath to uphold the Constitution. And that is our freedom. Mask mandates are borderline evil, in my opinion. You cannot force people to put a covering over their face. I've done it. I've done the research. I've treated patients that had to have it. It's stupid, and you need to not focus on something that has a very low mortality rate. I'm more concerned about my son asking why there's a female dressed like a boy in his class. That's a pandemic, in my opinion. So I just wanted to say my piece. I respect every one of you. I appreciate what you're doing. You're in a tough spot, but it's time to let go of, everybody just needs to stand up. Enough with the COVID BS. It's done. It's not gonna go away until we say it is, because it's nothing but fear mongering. I know for a fact, I've been through pandemics before at a medical level. And this is nowhere near a pandemic, folks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Kelly Johnson.
Hi there. My name is Kelly Johnson, and my husband Matthew and I have two children, Iris 13 and Ezra 11. We're lifelong residents of Plymouth, having attended elementary, middle, and high school here. One of the key reasons we chose to stay in Plymouth and raise our family here is because of the great schools, beautiful landscape, and the strong sense of community. I'm here to urge the school district to require that all students, staff, and anyone else who enters our district buildings wear a mask in order to protect the health and wellness of everyone in this community. The health and safety of all students should be the district's #1 priority, and being proactive to help prevent an outbreak of COVID is necessary. We don't want to end up in the same position as many school districts in the South, where school has recently started with no mask requirements, and then school promptly closed within a few weeks due to large COVID outbreaks. Medical experts, including the CDC and the American Academy of Pediatrics, agree that masks should be worn by all individuals in schools in order to keep our children as safe as possible during this next COVID wave. The Delta variant is twice as contagious as we had been dealing with and impacting younger children more as they can't be vaxxed. Why not start off the school year with masks and then hopefully relax the rules if we aren't seeing a high rate of transmission in our community, which by the way is high right now, rather than doing the opposite and basically waiting for our children to get sick and potentially hospitalized or worse before doing something to stop the spread. I'll never understand how you think that not protecting our children is the right thing to do. For those who are anti-mask and/or anti-vax, no one is taking away your or your children's freedom. Rather, they're protecting the common good in our community. Those who say that it's their right to choose whether to wear a mask or not are missing a key tenet of living in a community. We take care of and look out for one another. Can you honestly tell me that you don't care if if you give my child a potentially deadly virus? Are you that selfish that you would purposely do something that could knowingly harm your community members? I believe your argument is full of holes, particularly when you think of things like the smoking regulations that were put into place about 10 to 12 years when smoking inside businesses, yes, even those owned by private individuals, such as restaurants and bars, was outlawed in Wisconsin. If your whole "it's my right" argument holds true, then that law should be repealed and people should be able to smoke in any business, anywhere they'd like, including schools, putting the rest of us in the path of deadly secondhand smoke. Are you protesting that law? Additionally, wouldn't it be my right to drive on the wrong side of the road or run red lights? No, it's not my right to do those things because they put others in danger. You see, masking works best when everyone wears them, just like traffic laws work best when everyone follows them. And by the way, folks who don't get citations or other fines. We have rules and laws to ensure the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness for all. Notice the order here. Life is listed first, then liberty. You can't have any liberties or freedoms if you don't have life, so please stop talking about your rights when they infringe upon my and my family's health and safety. And you anti-vaxxers out there, I'd love to know if you and or your children are vaxxed against other deadly viruses that we've encountered over the last hundreds of years, such as smallpox, which by the way is considered eradicated. You want to know why? Because of vaccines. Polio, measles, mumps, rubella, varicella, etc. Vaccines save lives. Medical professionals save lives, which is why we depend on them to care for our children from pre-birth to death. We trust medical professionals to care for our children when it comes to things like an ear infection, stomach bugs, broken bones, or maybe a hernia, or diabetes, or worse, cancer. If we trust them to care for our children in their time of need in any other case, why are we not trusting them now when we need them most to fight a deadly pandemic that's killed 622,000 people in the US since last year alone? Well, it's too early to tell how devastating this Delta variant might be. Many hospitals are already seeing an uptake of pediatric patients. Doesn't that concern you? Do you want your child or my child to be in the hospital? Can you honestly say you don't care? I've made it clear how I stand on masking at schools, but I also realize this is a very contentious issue. Given I'm a reasonable person and negotiation is a key part of success in any business, I'd like to propose we meet in the middle. Given that children 12 plus are eligible for the vaccine, and those of us with children 11 under don't have the freedom to choose to vaccinate our kids because there isn't one available, let's require masks for 6th grade and under, where there is no other line of defense against this virus than masking and distancing. For those 12 plus, masking can be optional since the vax is available to those individuals. It's the very least we can do to protect our children and provide a safe in-person learning environment. Let me leave you with this thought. The values of democracy include individual rights and duties. The core pillar of our government is the need to defend the lives of citizens against enemies, and this includes COVID-19. So if you're really as patriotic as many of you like to think, then get a vaccine and wear a mask because you should be thinking of it as your duty. And that's what we should be teaching our children, how to be good, decent human beings who care for one another and are willing to make small sacrifices like wearing a cloth covering over their nose and mouth in public spaces for the greater good. Let's step up, come together, and be good humans to help keep everyone safe and healthy.
Perfect example of fear mongering.
I was polite when you spoke, and now you can
yeah.
do the same. Do we live in a community?
I'm sorry, please. Everyone has the right to speak if they've signed up. Let them speak and let everyone be heard. Is there anyone else that has signed up, Katrina?
That is it.
That's it? All right. So,
I didn't get to sign up, but can I please say a few things?
No, she has to sign up.
technically, you were supposed to sign up ahead of time. I did announce that before the meeting,
I'm
but,
just gonna say very quickly that there are a lot of people here that don't do vaccines, and they don't believe in vaccines because we have immune systems that fight diseases. So we should trust the science that the COVID vaccine does not work. We all know that, we've all
Okay.
seen this, that we've all read it.
and I'm sorry,
And we have immune systems
I'm-
that will fight the virus
I'm sorry,
for us
I wish you had-
instead of using experimental drugs.
ma'am, I thank you, but next time sign up, please. All right, if the board has no questions, or does anyone have a question for anyone who spoke?
I don't have any questions, but I want to thank you for coming. And this is one part of being on the board that is very uncomfortable for me, that we are not allowed to engage in a conversation. That part, I'm not comfortable with, and I'm sorry for that. But thank you for both sides coming and hearing both, both of your sides. You're welcome to come to all of our meetings. The Monday before this Tuesday, the week before, is where we do a lot more discussion than we actually do here at this meeting. It's always open. You're welcome to come anytime.
Thank you, Sally. Janelle?
I wanted to say thank you all for coming also. I was elected to the board in June and to fill a vacancy, so I'm sort of getting into the weeds of a lot of more background information. And as Sally mentioned, it's hard to not be able to respond to everyone. But I wanted to let you all know that if you go to the home webpage of the school district, look at the school district, it has all of our email addresses. So if you have any concerns and you weren't able to speak, please send us a message. That's another easy way for you each to catch all of us and to share your thoughts.
Thank you, Janelle.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Can I ask you a question?
Well,
No.
Nothing.
afterwards,
What I want to know is, what do we have to do in order to be able to converse with someone so we get a give and take? I mentioned some things I would like to know about.
absolutely.
Where do I get those answers?
So Janelle really pointed out, if you can email us, and, okay, all right. Sorry, that was my reaction. Or you can just reach out to me. If you want to call me, I'll be glad to meet with you one-on-one. What you have to understand is there are state laws that legislate how we can talk to people. And so if 3 of us gather to meet with you, it's a walking quorum and that violates state law. I know from your perspective, you may think, wow, these guys have a lot of rules. We do, it's crazy. And when you get on the board, you realize for the first time that there are ways that government operates, and it is surprising how it can be seemingly restrictive. But there are reasons for why they have created the rules that we try to follow. So we're not trying to shut people out. We're not trying to not have a conversation. We're trying to follow the rules that we have been assigned to operate under. So please, you can call me. I know you don't have email, but you could email me or any other board member, and I'll be glad to have a dialogue with you and answer your questions. The administration is also available if you have questions, if you want to read our curriculum, if you want to look at certain things. The administration is here. You can come into the school, you can sit down, and you can read the curriculum. Our schools are public schools. They're open to you. So I hope that answers your question.
The school board has no phone numbers. So I wanted to call, but there's no phone numbers listed.
Call the district office, Jerry, and ask them for the phone numbers.
Yeah,
Will they give it?
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
The other thing is when somebody emails the entire school board, which is good and fine, each one of us will not respond. We will let Bob speak on our behalf. And then Bob will let us know also how he responded back to you. Because you don't need 7 emails coming back to you.
I mean, how long does it take to usually get a response? Because I have emailed
Hopefully
and I
within
haven't
24
got-
hours.
I haven't gotten a response back, so.
Okay, yeah. There
Sorry
are a
about
lot of
that. Thank you.
emails, I'll just let you know. I'm doing my best. All right.
And your name?
Amanda Green.
Okay, Amanda, I will look for your email, and I'll be glad to respond to that. All right? We have gotten off our agenda a little bit here, and I want to reiterate what Sally said. We really appreciate the input, but we do have to move on here with our agenda. At this point, we move on to board liaison reports, and that would be Sally Isley, Community Ed.
Community Ed, there is a lot going on in Community Ed. If you haven't looked at their website, please do. They have a lot coming up this fall. They also have opened up hall walking and track walking beginning in November. That I know was a big disappointment when COVID hit last year, because after school, these hallways are busy with people walking the hallways. So you're welcome to come back. There's new water classes, and of course, the fitness center that we have available, and the other classes coming out. I have notes, and they're not with me tonight. They're at home. But anyway, classes that we've had in the past for Community Ed, they're back in, up and running again, so take a look at Community Ed's website.
Great, thank you, Sally. Foundation, that's my responsibility. The foundation, we did meet. We are in the midst of planning the fundraiser for the mini grant program. That will occur over homecoming, so look for more information about that. As the foundation goes, we are looking for contributions, items to put in the silent auction. If you've been to these events before, you know the drill. We will have an online silent auction in which you can bid on items. All of that money goes to the mini grant programs, which when we talk about contributions to our district, you will find and hear about the great things our staff members bring forward, and we fund up to $500 toward enhancing the learning opportunities and really trying to make the education programs more exciting. So it's a great cause. Foundation is doing great work, and we could use your support. Moving on, Family Resource Center, Dan Steiner is not here. He took ill. So I'm not sure anyone else has a report from Family Resource. All I can say is it's a great organization, so please support them if you will. Moving on to personnel, Dan.
Yes, we have a number of personnel. It's obviously getting close to the end, or the beginning of the school year, so we've got a lot of people here. We'll take the ones that require action, which is A through F, as one group. And then we'll do the staff after that. So, starting out, the board will consider the resignation of Dawn Randall, ELL teacher for the school district, effective at the end of the 2021 school year. Dawn has been with the district for 14 years. The board will consider the approval of a 100% contract for Maddie Brown, another Plymouth alumni, to be a second grade teacher at Fairview Elementary School for the 21-22 school year. Madeline received her bachelor's degree from Concordia University. This will be Madeline's 6th year of teaching. The board will consider the approval of a 100% contract for Christian Volbrecht, another Plymouth alumni, to be the, that's his cousin, Mark. No, that's right. Sorry, we have Mark. Christian is from Falls. So, a little worried about that now. Christian Volbrecht to be the physical education teacher at Riverview Middle School for the 21-22 school year. Christian received his bachelor's degree from the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh. This will be Christian's 9th year of teaching. The board will consider the approval of a 100% contract for Matthew Bertram to be the assistant principal at Riverview Middle School for the 21-22 school year. Matthew received his bachelor's degree from the University of Wisconsin-Stevens Point and his master's degree from Concordia. This will be Matthew's 13th year in education. The board will consider a 50% contract for Angela Hintz to be a 4th grade 4K teacher at Horizon Elementary for the 21-22 school year. Angela received her bachelor's degree from the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. This will be Angela's 7th year of teaching. The board will consider 100% contract for Christy Skorwanski, I have trouble, even though I'm from Pulaski, to be a business education teacher at Plymouth High School for the 21-22 school year. Christy received her bachelor's degree from Carroll University and her master's degree from the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. This will be Christy's 4th year of teaching. And as I mentioned before, we do have a pretty veteran group of quote-unquote new teachers coming in, and that's kind of an example of it. So we just need action to accept all of those.
So we need a motion and a second on these contracts.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? All right, we have new teachers.
Okay, and then we have support staff.
Support staff, go ahead, Deb.
The sports app requires no action, so this is just informational. Amy Donner, special education aide at Fairview Elementary School, has submitted her resignation. Amy's been with the district for 5 years. Heather Garshinsky, special education aide at Fairview Elementary School, has submitted her resignation. Heather has been with the district for 4 years. Stephanie Carbaugh, special education aide at Fairview Elementary School, has submitted her resignation. Stephanie has been with the district for 1 year. Hope Retzloff, special education aide at Fairview Elementary, has submitted her resignation. Hope has been with the district for 2 years. Andrea Gerlach, special education aide at Riverview Middle School, has submitted her resignation. Andrea has been with the district for 5 years. Harley Kinney, special education aide at Plymouth High School, has submitted her resignation. Harley has been with the district for 1 year. Janet Chapman, cook server at Riverview Middle School, has submitted her resignation. Janet has been with the district for 1 year. I wish them all well in their next steps.
That's right. Thanks, Dan. Items for the consent agenda. Onto the president's report. So I'm somewhat disappointed that the room cleared out because this was my opportunity to at least speak about what we're facing. And what we're facing is a new year, a new school year, and without a doubt, there is this lingering question of COVID in the background. I can't deny it's there. We can't hide from it. It's there. It's in the press. We see and hear about it all the time. What I know, though, is that everyone in this room, our entire staff, we all want it to go away, and we all want the very best for our kids. And what we want for our kids is an environment that they can learn and thrive in, and that's what we need to give them. More than anything else, they should be looking at what we're doing with the adversity that we're facing, and we need to teach them how people of opposing viewpoints can have a dialogue and can consider and can consult and eventually compromise on achieving a common goal. And that common goal is one thing. It's the only reason we're all in here is we want the next generation, Jerry, we want the next generation to be better than our generation, right? That's what we're looking for. The only way that happens is we as a community cooperate, we work together. And if we want to give our children a lesson, we should show them how we can work together even when we're standing on opposite sides of the fence. And that's my report. Superintendent report. Go ahead, Dan.
Thank you. So the student and staff accomplishments are always a fun thing to look at, and I think Dina's presentation earlier was spot on with the amount of work that our staff puts in. Not just our we kind of highlighted the work of the teaching staff there in their trainings, but our aides and our custodial staff, and just as an example, our custodial staff at the high school has a very limited time because we run a ton of kids through here in summer school to get this place, the high school, up and ship shape and running again every year. And they do a fantastic job, and they are they're working really hard all over the school and all over the district. And then, of course, the teaching staff looking forward to having all those kids in their classrooms again next year and excited for having them reach higher levels of achievement every single year. That's really what drives us, and that's what makes everybody excited for the coming year. And that's why they come in on their own time, for the most part, all summer long, learning and growing to prepare for the kids coming in. So it's just kudos to all of the people that work so hard to put together, you know, a wonderful learning environment for the kids. Just an example of that, just recently, we had 3 students, Jacob Ashworth, Kyle Kraus, and Alex Oddie. They presented nationwide about, and I forgot my glasses, on a panel about CTE, which is Career and Technical Education. Those of you who might be newer to the district, this district has been focused in that area for a long time now, and we've been a leader in our county and in the state, really, in career and technical education. And so some of those kids matriculate all the way through, and those 3 boys in particular presented for a nationwide symposium about how CTE leads to great success for university students. And they're really excellent examples of that, you know, engineer, and super high achieving kids.
I
And so-
attended the symposium. It was during a lunch hour, and it was amazing what these young men and how they represented our district and our community. They were very well versed, but it was great because they spoke of the great relationships we have with our different corporations and how we work together with those corporations and the clubs that we have, like our robotics clubs, and how those all impacted them and really prepared them for the journey that they're on. So it was pretty impressive.
And those 3 boys also were state champs in robotics, just FYI. So, pretty big honor for those kids. It's just an example of kids that we work with, and we get them when they're little, and they go all the way through, and we have a ton of kids every year attending high-level colleges, going to LTC and achieving and being super successful. So that's our goal for every single kid, to achieve and be their personal best. And upcoming events, so you can hear, everything has started here in the high school. We've got tennis today, is today too? Yeah, tennis today on the new courts.
On the new courts.
No, it's away.
Oh, okay, tennis is away, dang it. Swim on Thursday, swimming meet, football on Friday, and every single team will be in action next week. So school has begun. It's August only, but a lot of teams have been in action for quite some time, and kids have been working hard, and so it's
We have
wonderful
girls
to see.
golf.
Oh, and we have new
Girls
girls
golf.
golf. They already had their first meet?
Yes.
I did admit that one because it's brand new in my brain. I forgot that one, yes. So they've already had a meet, so congratulations. So we've got a lot of great things going on, a lot of very, very successful kids. Teachers and staff are working very hard for this coming school year, and those extracurriculars, which are one of our pillars, are fully underway. So
Fantastic.
here we go.
All right. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
I second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
This meeting is adjourned.